franktalks.com.
Even for the most skilled schmoozer, meeting someone special can be a challenge. But don't worry, our relationship coach is here with one way of meeting many people in just one evening: speed dating. Please welcome back to the show, Frank Kermit. Frank, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kelly. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Now, can you tell me, I guess, how speed dating works and how many people you can actually meet in just one meeting or one evening? Because I know that speed dating has been around for a while now.
Well, let's answer the second question first. The number of people you can meet, assuming that you're going to talk to somebody for 5 to 7 minutes, that's up to 12 people an hour. And if it's a 2 or 3 hour event, you can meet anywhere from 24 to 36 new people, potentially, at a speed dating event. And the way it works, the girls come in and they all take a seat at small tables. And the guys come in and each guy sits in front of one girl. They have a 5 to 7 minute conversation. They rate each other as, yes, I would like a potential date with this person, or no, I would not want a potential date with this person. And when the bell rings, they move over to the next person. So all the guys get up and the girls stay seated, and the guys just move over one seat. And this process continues. He talks to her for 5 to 7 minutes, moving on until everybody has had a chance to talk to everybody. At the end of the night, everybody submits their reports to the speed dating organizers, listing who they would like to date again and who they would not. The organizers look to make matches. When they find that two people have both said they want to date one another, they contact those people and say, here's the other person's contact information. Then it's up to the individual to decide to take it forward and actually set up a real date.
Okay. Now, since you're only with each person for this 5 to 7 minute, time frame, what are some good questions to ask in that time period?
Well, one of the things that I always recommend is to stay away from questions that have nothing to do with how a person is going to treat you. Asking somebody where they work, what they do, what their favorite color is, and so on, it's great information. But it's statistical information. It has nothing to do with how the person is going to treat you in a relationship. It has nothing to do with whether or not the two of you have compatible values. So you're better off sticking to questions that are fun, lighthearted, and are designed to make a person reveal their soul. One of the questions that I recommend people ask is to say a hypothetical. If you were to win $1 million in the lottery, what's the first thing you would do? Now, a person who values a good time might say something like, oh, the first thing I would do, I would quit my job, get on a plane, I wouldn't take anything with me, and I would just travel the world and go to these different countries, and when I come back, I'll just deal with everything. That's a very different answer than someone saying, well, I think I would pay off my debts, pay off the house, or if I don't have a house, I would buy a house. I would make sure that my kid has an education fund, and then with whatever's left over, maybe I would invest that. And these type of answers really reveal what a person's priorities are. If somebody answers in a way that is compatible with what you value, you have found a match. If somebody answers in a way that's really just the opposite of what you would want to do in that exact situation, now you know that is not a match. You're looking for people who you could be compatible with so that you could have a great date afterwards.
There has to be all sorts of people coming out to these events. Do you have, I guess, any tips on how to weed out maybe the desperate people and try to find the more interesting people that you might actually want to know better?
Look, in 5 to 7 minutes, you're not always going to be able to tell who the red flags are unless you go in with really great questions and you already know what your criteria is. So, no, there is no way to weed that out, the same way there's no way to weed out the red flag people in other areas of your life. It's just going to take time. The key thing to remember is that you have to go in there with an open mind and say, everybody here is dateable, and if I come up with a reason not to date the person, I'll say no. That's the best possible mindset, because all this is a 5 to 7 minute meeting. You still have to go on an actual date, and when you go on an actual date, you make it a simple coffee date. You meet up for 20 minutes or maybe an hour over lunchtime, and if you still don't connect there, hey, it's been great, thanks a lot. But at that point, you know that the other person has as much interest in you as you in them. So there's much more of an incentive, and it's a lot easier to get out to that first date.
Now, Frank, this might be something you can't answer, but I'm assuming you might be able to. With regards to the organizers or the organization that is organizing the speed dating event, do they do any sort of background checks in advance, or can anyone sort of willy-nilly come in? I just want people to be aware of, maybe it is sort of fend for yourself really in this event.
To my knowledge, it's usually fend for yourself. In my experience, very few speed dating companies ever do any sort of background checks. They usually try to match people up based on, let's say, theme, whether it's religion, sexual orientation, sometimes age groups, and that's about it. You're basically meeting for people for 5 to 7 minutes, and it's up to you to decide if you're willing to take a chance and meet them up for a coffee date afterwards. So to my knowledge, no, they don't do any sort of background checks. It's not a matchmaking company. It's not a matchmaking system. It's not where... it's not a situation where they're putting too much stake involved. It's really just a fun opportunity to meet new people, as many new people as possible, in the shortest time possible.
Now, we talked earlier about the 5 to 7 minutes and what types of questions you should be asking. Now, taking from that in the conversation during those 5 to 7 minutes, what pieces, I guess, do you sort of decide off of if, this is going to warrant a further date? Like if, I guess, any of the answers are really sort of hitting some buttons with you?
Well, let's look at a particular question that I normally ask people to take part in. And I'm going to ask this question to you, and then we're going to decipher the answer to that question, okay?
Yeah.
So Kelly, here's the question. If life were a banana split, what part of that banana split would you be, and why?
Okay, so then I would answer that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's a tough question, Frank. I guess I would say the ice cream, just because I think everyone thinks that's the best part of it.
Okay, so let's decipher that answer. You would be the ice cream because everybody else thinks the ice cream is the best part of it. This tells me that you want everybody to think that you're the best part of it. Other people's opinions maybe are very important to you.
Okay.
Now, if I'm very similar-minded, if I say, well, I would be the cherry because everybody loves a cherry, we would be compatible in the sense that the cherry and the ice cream are metaphors for the things that you and I both value.
Okay.
If, however, I would give the following answer, and this was a great answer I got from someone many years ago, his answer was, I would be the spoon because the spoon controls everything.
Right. Okay.
Now, somebody might look at that and say, I really like that person. It's very dominant. It's very, lots of self-confidence behind that. Someone else might get that same answer and say, that sounds like a control freak to me. I see that as a red flag, so no, I don't want to date this person. So that's how you're going to decipher it. That's why asking these type of fun questions, which really reveal a person's values, is a lot more effective in trying to weed out people that you would not want to date. So let's try a different conversation, Kelly. Mm-hmm. If I came to you and I said, okay, well, what is it you value in life? Let's have that conversation.
Okay.
Put it out there. What is it you value in life?
I would say, like traits, I would say honesty and trust, all that sort of good stuff.
Right. But most people would say that.
Okay.
How they interpret honesty and trust and what the exceptions are to those boundaries is very, very individualistic and unique.
Okay.
That's why those questions don't work, because everybody's going to say the same thing.
Because they're too vague.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if I ask you a question like, well, let's try another one. If life was a vegetable garden, what vegetable would you be and why?
Wow, Frank, you are making me work tonight. I don't even know. I guess I would say a cucumber because I think that that's one of the most popular things you can have in the garden and the salad, and it just makes everything come together.
Okay, so let's look at the values that expresses. Number one, it's one of the most popular things in the garden. This tells me that being popular and being liked, a theme that came up before with a different question, are things that are really important to you. So if I'm on the same level as you, and I've given a similar answer, I know that you would be a great match for me. You've also said about bringing an entire salad together. Maybe that's expressing a value such as you enjoy togetherness. You like being the point person who brings everybody together. Maybe it says that you want to manipulate and control other people, and that's how somebody might interpret that. So they're going to ask a different question to see exactly where to pinpoint that value. Sometimes they may even ask you, well, listen, you want to be the cucumber. Why is it that a cucumber brings the entire salad together? Why is that important to you? And then you continue on with a conversation like that.
Okay.
If you only base it on statistical information, you're more often than not, you're going to be matched up with the wrong people.
I think this is fascinating. I think it's very important that you're bringing this up, Frank, because I think so many people go to these events. First of all, I've never been, but I was actually, in preparation for this interview, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think I would be very nervous at one of these events, and because I think I'm actually a shy person meeting new people like that. Like I sort of need to sort of warm up to people, so I don't know how I would do just meeting, 25 people in 7-minute spans. Like I'm not sure how that would work. But the question that you've brought up is you need to be prepared so that you are not just asking mundane, inane questions that are not going to give you anything.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about the fact that a lot of people show up and are very nervous. One of the mistakes that I used to make when I started speed dating is that the first couple of people I would run into, they would say, well, I'm really nervous. And I would spend my time with them trying to calm them down and make them feel more comfortable. That was a mistake, because there's nothing attractive about that. We're not getting to know each other. I'm just filling into a therapist role.
Right.
And that's the wrong thing to do. What I learned is that when somebody says, well, look, I'm really, really nervous, then I would go into these type of value-eliciting questions. All of a sudden, the person starts talking about themselves, and they start thinking about what it is that's important to them. They stop being nervous because they're now talking about their absolute favorite subject, themselves. So everybody's going to be nervous starting out. Rather than talk about the nervousness, ask somebody a question and take a genuine curiosity about the other person so that that person expresses themselves and you get to know them.
Joining us on the program is our relationship coach, Frank Kermit. Make sure to check him out on his website, franktalks.com. Frank, how long should you wait before contacting one of your matches?
When it comes to speed dating, you don't wait. The day you get the information from the organizer saying this person matched up with you, here's the person's phone number and or email, you contact them that day and you set up a date as soon as possible. This is not a time to play games. This is not a time to follow any sort of rules such as you have to wait 3 days to call because you don't want to appear desperate. This is a situation where two people have both admitted that they want to go out. Well, there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to be coy about. You've both admitted that you want a date. When you realize that you want to spend time with someone, the best possible way to get that done is as soon as possible. So go ahead, set up a coffee date, set up a lunch date, a dinner date, whatever the case is, but make sure to set something up, reach out and connect with someone. Here's one of the things that happens. Chances are people end up with more matches than just the one or two. Sometimes they can end up with 7 or 8 matches from a speed dating event. Some people, not all, but some people will date the first person who reaches out to them. They go out on a date and they end up deciding, no, I just want to date this one person because they were the first person to reach out to me. So if you really liked someone, but you waited 2 or 3 days before you actually call that person and contact that person, even if they really liked you, they might be the type of person to only get serious and exclusive with somebody just because the other person reached out first. You want to meet each person as soon as possible, ideally in the same week, and then take it from there as to whether or not you want to date them further.
Now, Frank, because I know that you would have already thought about this, what type of date do you have? Because I feel like this is important. Do you just go for the coffee date? How do you know what to propose?
Well, I would normally suggest to people that whatever their MO for a first date is, that's what they would do. Because, as you said, there's no background checks. With speed dating, a public setting would be the best place. You go out to a coffee shop, a restaurant, a place where other people will see you. Make sure that you have a friend or a relative that has your contact information just in case, anything goes wrong. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet, but you never know. The idea here is that you want to meet publicly where it's safe until you feel more comfortable to take it to a more private setting. Now, people are individuals when it comes to this, and some people feel very comfortable saying, hey, let's have dinner at my place. And if you're dealing with two people who are very comfortable in taking those kind of risks, well, they're probably going to do that in any dating system, meeting anybody through the internet or whatnot. The idea is be safe. Try to meet in a public place if you can. And if you're going to meet in a private place, understand that you're taking the same kind of risks as you would meeting somebody off the internet.
When you speak about being safe and stuff, is it important that maybe when you decide what speed dating event you're going to go to, that you go to like a theme night or something that really is sort of close to your heart or close to your understanding, so that you're already in a comfortable maybe way of making a decision?
Well, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking just to meet people and have fun, then there's a lot more speed dating events open to you. If you're looking for something more serious, then you would have to start looking what your criteria is in terms of a long-term partner type of future you want. Maybe because of those issues, you have concerns about age, you have concerns about religion, you have concerns about culture. If those things matter to you, then yes, you go to the speed dating events that would cater to those particular interests. It doesn't necessarily make it easier. It just might be in line with your goals, depending on what your goals are.
Now, when you do go out on this first post-speed dating date, like your first date, I guess, do you have any specific tips, Frank? Because, again, we just saw how important it is to have the right questions for the 5 to 7 minute speed dating. What do you do on the actual first date?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to let the other person know what it was about them that you found most interesting. During the speed dating event, most participants are encouraged to take notes. And before you hand in your quote-unquote report card to the organizer, make sure that you jot down some notes, including the person's name, things that they brought up in that 5-minute conversation that you found very interesting, so that when you meet up with them on that first date, you're looking to continue a number of the conversations that were started in those first 5 to 7 minutes. This is for a number of reasons. First and foremost, you want to show the person that you actually remember them and that you're not getting them confused with somebody else that you were looking to match up with. This creates a lot of rapport and is a really good basis to really establish something really fun, a great dynamic, and maybe something that could lead to something more serious. The other thing that you want to do is that as they bring it up, make sure that you're not just looking to get information out of them, but you're trying to find out what kind of a role they can play in your life. If you're only looking for just something, for a good time, and you're not looking for anything serious, get to know the person first. And if at the end of the date you still feel that way, and basically the person might be a great person, but not what you're looking for right now, you can be honest about that, and you're both free to move on. Just keep something in mind. If you plan to do one speed dating event, chances are you're going to try multiple speed dating events. And when you go to a new speed dating event, you're likely going to run into people that you met at the previous events, and even people that you dated for a while. It's going to happen. So keep that in mind before you do anything that might burn a few bridges.
Now, I don't really want to bring this up, but I know that I have to. What happens if in that initial speed dating event you don't have any matches at all? Like, do you cry?
If you don't have any matches at all, the question you have to ask yourself is, I wonder if anybody wanted to date me that I wasn't open to. Because this is a very serious situation. Now, first of all, there are a number of speed dating organizers that say if you don't get any matches, you're allowed to come back to another event for free or at a discount until you get at least one match. The other thing to consider is if you're not getting any matches at all, are you communicating in a way that's creepy? Are you saying things to turn people off? Maybe that there's someone who's interested in you, but you're just not comfortable or maybe just not aware of being able to read the signs when someone is into you. When I first started speed dating, I went to a lot of speed dating events because I wanted to get good at it. The first couple of events, I was having a great time. We were talking. I thought we were connecting, and I got 0 matches. At one point, I decided I'm going to give yes to everybody. This was an experiment I ran. I went to a speed dating event, and I said yes, even the ones who I knew I did not want to date. I said yes to all of them because I wanted to see if there was anybody who would match up with me. At this particular event, out of everybody I talked to, there was one person that I simply said, anybody but her. She just said the wrong thing. She just, her entire demeanor was just a total turnoff for me. And I said, I'm still saying yes to her, but, anybody else but her. I only got one match that night. Guess who I got?
With the lady.
I got the one person who I didn't want to be with. And I couldn't figure out why, because with everybody else, I was being very out there and very charismatic and almost a little bit over the top. But when I got to her and she started saying things that really turned me off, I kind of backed off a bit. And I had what I thought was a pleasant conversation, but I wasn't really trying hard. And that's when I realized that that was the formula that works for me. So I went to a following speed dating event, and this time I took the same demeanor throughout all of my conversations. And wouldn't you know it, out of about, let's say, 15 or 20 people who were eligible, I ended up with 7 matches. It's not so much about the fact that other people may not be into you or you being too picky. Sometimes we don't realize how we come across that might be turning people off. Speed dating is a great way to practice. It's a great way to find out and experiment with behaviors that might make you realize and teach you something about yourself, about the way you've come across.
Now, speaking of that, Frank, the fact that, we can maybe lump that into being socially awkward in a way, because there are some people I think that are just painfully shy and whatever. So in that moment, even though you might be a perfectly well-adjusted person, you're coming off as socially awkward. How do you adjust that then, like in the grand scheme of things, even to just get over the hump of getting to one of these events and not being painfully shy?
Okay, well, the first thing you can do is when you're talking to somebody, if you really happen to like them, there's nothing wrong with saying, look, I just want you to know I'm just really, really shy. So if I come across as socially inept, I'm actually well-adjusted. It's just I get really shy and really nervous, and I forget how to communicate. But once I get to know somebody and feel safer with somebody, I'm much more relaxed. If you start the conversations with something like that, you're basically giving the other person a filter, so that when they see you're getting nervous, they may even call you out on it. They might say, hey, are you feeling nervous right now? Yes, actually I am. So the person knows, so this person isn't creepy. They're just really shy. They know how to filter it. And you're being honest about it right from the get-go. So it takes a lot of pressure off. In terms of finding the courage just to get out there to such an event, I got to tell you, speed dating is not unto itself with this challenge. Every dating challenge has this. Every new way of meeting people has this. You got to fight that fear of rejection, that fear of the unknown. The chances are that the soulmate that you're looking for, the next person who's going to be an amazing person in your life and in your love life history, is someone you don't know right now. Chances are that your future lover, your future partner, is currently a stranger to you. And for me, the best motivation to get out there is that the more people I meet, the closer I get to meeting my soulmate.
That's a good way of looking at it. Now, Frank, as well, if things don't go well on that initial speed dating night, what's your advice? Because I think some people might just give up right away and be like, I sucked at this. I am clearly not made out for speed dating. I'm going to do something else. Like, do you suggest maybe needing to do it a couple of times because maybe you just were not in the right frame or super shy or super scared those first few times?
I will take the attitude of not every dating method is for everyone. Some people are very comfortable with online dating. Other people want to be introduced by friends. Some people are very comfortable being set up on blind dates. Other people just, are terrified of them. You got to find what works for you. Now, if you try speed dating and you don't get any matches that first time, I would say take that as a sign that there's something that you're doing or saying that's coming across in a way that's probably not painting the proper picture of who you are. I would always recommend to people, keep speed dating. If for no other reason than to experiment with different behaviors, different stories, different ways to come across, and be a lot more open as to who you say yes to for a potential first date. That is going to tell you more than anything else. That's going to tell you how you're coming across and helping you find a way that best represents you when you go out on a date.
Frank, before I let you go, what is your most important piece of advice for anyone who is going to attempt speed dating?
Don't go in there with unrealistic expectations. That's the biggest piece of advice. Don't go in there assuming that everybody who's there is desperate. Don't go in there expecting to find your soulmate. This is an opportunity to meet a lot of people, and you're going to meet some great people, and you're going to meet some not-so-great people for you. If you go in there with unrealistic expectations, you are sure to be disappointed. Go in there with an open mind and looking to have some fun in meeting as many people as possible. That really is the best advice. I got to tell you that in all the speed dating events I did and all the people that I met and went on a few dates with, I actually met one of the best girlfriends in my life through speed dating. That's why I'm such a supporter of speed dating. I met somebody who was really amazing, that because of where her life was at, where my life was at, there wouldn't have been a chance for us to meet in other circumstances. It was a great way for us to connect. We had a great relationship. Unfortunately, we were incompatible for certain things, and that's why the relationship ended, but we're still on good terms today. And I tell you, you can meet a great person speed dating, but don't go in there with the expectation that it's going to be the be-all and end-all and the answer to your woes. It's just another means to meet people. I just personally think it's a fun one.
Frank, thank you so much as always. This is great advice.
Kelly, it's always a pleasure to be on the Kelly Alexander Show.
That was our relationship coach, Frank Kermit. Again, for more information, make sure to visit his website, www.franktalks.com.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, 'cause Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com, franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating and relationships? Visit